Good morning, or depending on when you're watching this, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. My name's Ross, and as always told, out of Voice of Radio. So today, we need to take a look at a new Altaria card. Now, this is coming out in the EV deck. We had a look at the EV earlier today, yesterday, depending on the upload schedule. And I tell you what, this one's got a chance. Really got a chance. You see, on the face of it, it doesn't look particularly good. Now, it's another Pokemon that could be a dragon, but comes in as a colorless type instead. Worth pointing out that Altaria is dragon flying, so it's not exactly that weird. I mean, it is primary flying type, to be fair. So, it coming in as a colorless Pokemon, i.e. flying type, does make sense. And we have had plenty of colorless Altaria in the past, so it still does feel weird that we haven't had a dragon Pokemon in the whole Sword and Shield era. But anyway, we've done videos on that. That's another day's discussion. And what we see here is a retreat cost of 1, which is fine because we've got U-turn board. I say fine, I'm underselling it a bit. The retreat cost of 1 is huge. We'll get there in a minute. Resistance of fighting means that all those Pokemon trying to counter stuff like Pikachu and Zekrom, you'll have resistance against, so that's quite nice. And the weakness to lightning, I mean, look, Electro Power rotating out really helps, because it used to be if a Pokemon could do 30 damage, 1 Electro Power would do 60, double with weakness, boom, KO. As it is, you got 110 HP, weakness and resistance really ain't that important. 110 HP, you need to be able to take a hit from non-V, non-GX, single prize Pokemon. And it's fine. It's okay. I like it. But it's not exactly phenomenal. We'd like a bit more beef. And then again, you're a colorless Pokemon, so to be fair, you do have powerful colorless energy. The new energy, which is strong energy for colorless Pokemon, your attacks do an extra 20 damage, but it's still not great. But the thing is, we've got that ability, Miracle Guard. And it is the exact same ability we've been talking about lately with Decidueye. And it's huge. It is absolutely huge. For anyone that's forgotten, you prevent all damage done to this Pokemon by attacks from your opponent's Pokemon GX and Pokemon V. Oh. Why is this important in a world where we've got Decidueye? There are 2 things that Altaria has that Decidueye doesn't. Number 1, well actually 3 to be fair. Number 1, you're a stage 1. Which makes you not necessarily a turn faster, but considerably more consistent. If you want to be blocking Pokemon V's and GX's turn 2, Decidueye, you need to get the Candy Decidueye both in your hand turn 2. Altaria, you need the Pokemon. Or an Evolution Incense. Or maybe a Great Ball if you can find it off that. Or a Pokemon Communication with another Pokemon, any Pokemon in your hand. It's so much easier to find a Pokemon than a Pokemon and an item card, especially given how difficult it can be to find item cards. The fact that this is a Stage 1 versus Decidueye Stage 2, make no mistake about it, it is gigantic and huge and wonderful and brilliant and awesome. And it's got a retreat cost of 1. And that again is awesome. Because a lot of the time with these Pokemon, we're going to want to get them in and out the active. Maybe we're buying some time. Maybe we're using a hit and run deck like Greedent. More on that in a moment. Either way, we want to get in and out the active. Now, to be fair, Decidueye can use Air Balloon to get out the active. But by the same token, your opponent can use Tool Scrapper to get rid of it. U-turn board, however, it's available if you've only got a retreat cost of 1. That can be Tool Scrappered, but it gets Tool Scrappered right back into your hand. Faber can actually put it straight into the Lost Zone, but also that's rotating out about when this comes out, so nobody really cares. And what we have here is just consistency. Stage 1 rather than Stage 2, U-turn board that you can reattach if it gets Tool Scrappered, and you are getting immunity to GXs and Vs way more easily, way more consistently than you were beforehand. And as far as I'm concerned, that alone is reason to prefer it over Decidueye. Yes, it's got 30 less HP. No, the attack isn't as good. We'll get to the attack in a minute. But if you're just using it as a blocker, and a lot of the time these are going to be used just as blockers, this is better than Decidueye. And I've already shown you multiple winning Decidueye decks on this channel. One of them was with Greedent, the other one was a quad Decidueye deck. But again, if you're blocking GXs and Vs, it doesn't really matter what Pokemon you're using, you just need to get rolling. Plus, there's nothing to say you couldn't use Altaria in the early game to buy yourself some time to get Decidueye and then bring out Decidueye. Why wouldn't that work, ladies and gentlemen? Why wouldn't that work? The answer is it definitely would work, and it definitely will work. I adore this. And in a world where we like Decidueye, and as far as I'm concerned we do like Decidueye, this is a stage 1 version with better retreating. Now I keep talking about Greedent. What Greedent does is what Mine Xiao used to do. Mean Xiao. In that you do a bunch of damage, in this case it's 100 damage, and then you put the Pokemon and all cards attached to it into your hand. Greedent attacks for 2 energy, does 100 damage, so you use a twin energy, hit for 100 with Greedent, goes into your hand, and you put Altaria active. And in this deck, the Greedent version of the deck, Altaria is just better than Decidueye, because you're not attacking. It is there purely as a blocker. So if you give me a stage 1 that's easier to get into play, and for what it's worth, you're cutting 4 rare candy, plus maybe a Dartrix or 2. So you're freeing up at least 4 spots in your deck, you're getting the turn 2 blocking more consistently, and now you're playing U-turn board. And the thing about U-turn board is, not only can it not be tool scrappered, but you can actually get away with playing fewer of them. As soon as you hit a U-turn board, you've got it for the game. Yeah, your opponent can tool scrapper and then Marnie it back into your deck, I suppose, but it's not the end of the world. So you can actually get away with playing 1 or 2 fewer of these, which opens up more space in your deck. And I love it. Greedent Decidueye is gone, Greedent Altaria is the better option. Not to mention that Altaria can actually attack for a twin energy, we'll get there in a minute, which Decidueye can't, and they're both colourless Pokemon, so they can both use powerful colourless energy. It's wonderful! But what if you don't want it in a hit and run deck? And as a hit and run deck, I've been super clear it's better than Decidueye. But what if you don't want it in a hit and run deck? What's the attack like? 2 colourless energy, 60 damage. I am not going to sit here and pretend that 2 colourless energy, 60 damage is good. But I am going to sit here and tell you that it's good enough. Because one of 2 things is going to happen here. Either your opponent has an answer to this, and if your opponent's got a good non-GX, non-V attacker, they're going to run through Greedent and they're going to run through Decidueye, and it doesn't really matter. Or they don't have an answer and they're attacking with GXs and Vs, which you're blocking, in which case it doesn't matter what your attack is. No, 60 damage isn't great, but it's for 1 energy attachment, so turn 2, Altaria energy go. And look, you might be 4-hit KOing a Pikachu and Zekrom, but if you're 4-hit KOing a Pokemon that can't hit you back, who cares? You're going to get 5-hit KOing a Mewtwo and Mew. But if Mewtwo and Mew can't hit you back, who cares? You're 6-hit KOing anything. I think you got the point at this stage. That's what I love about Altaria. I don't like the attack. It's not a good attack. But, you know, Decidueye, if we remember Decidueye's attack for a grass and a colourless energy does 90 to the active and 20 damage to 2 of your opponent's bench Pokemon. Which is a way better attack. It's also far more awkward to pay, incidentally, because it's 2 separate attachments. But the fact of the matter is, if you're against something like an Excadrill deck, to be fair, you'll hit Excadrill for weakness, that's a terrible example. But if you're against something like a Blacephalon deck, it's not going to matter. They're going to smash Decidueye and they're going to smash Altaria, and it really isn't terribly relevant for them. If you're against an Obstagoon deck, to be fair, Obstagoon is also weak to Decidueye, maybe the weaknesses hitting is a good thing. And to be fair, right, as a quad deck, I do prefer Decidueye. I like having the extra 30 HP. I like that you are hitting a couple of good non-GXs for weakness. I like that you're doing bench damage as well as damage to the active. But I'm still probably putting a couple of Altaria into my Decidueye deck. Partly it gives me more options for blocking GXs and Vs without having to recover Pokemon with stuff like Ordinary Rod. And partly it gives me a bit more speed. If I am struggling a little bit, if I can't get my rare candy Decidueye, I can start blocking early with Altaria. Because we all know that Obstagoon blocks basic Pokemon after it starts attacking, but we've all seen GX decks and V decks run through, or basic decks run through Obstagoon, because they essentially go, I'm just taking prizes and you're not set up yet, and I'm just going to gust and KO all of your Pokemon that can stop me, and then I'm going to win the game. And it keeps happening. I love Altaria. I'm giving it 4 Wassies, and honestly, that feels low. It's better than Decidueye. Neither of them are great attackers. They are both played for the ability, and if you give me a stage 1 with a lower retreat cost and an easier to pay attack cost, I'm sorry, that's the one I'm going for. 4 Wassies does seem low. I've said it now. It's probably higher than that. But I want to know what you think, ladies and gentlemen, so let me know in the comment section. Go nuts! Be nice! And then make sure you like this video, subscribe to this channel, follow me on Twitter at @TheWassie, and Twitch for some live action at twitch.tv/PTCGRadio. If you want to support the channel, get some bonus podcasts and all that good stuff, head on over to patreon.com/PTCGRadio, where you can do exactly that. But by far the most important thing, as always, look after yourselves till next time, would ya? Thank you very much for watching. My name's Ross, and you've been watching PTCG Radio.